The best science we have does not know what anything is in its essence. All we can do is cut and divide and analyze and break down into smaller and smaller chunks until we get into the subatomic realm. We still don't know what anything is. And that's a good thing, actually. We think we know what objects are, but we don't. We can't, really. And all you have to do is think about this following example. Imagine I have, say, a styrofoam cup, and we know what a cup is, we know how to use it, we know one when we see it, pick it up, look at it, put it down, say, yes, that's a cup. If I start to deform it a little bit, it's still a cup, but it's maybe not as good of one. If I keep deforming it, squeezing it, breaking it, crushing it, it'll just become trash. It won't be useful. At some point, it will not be a cup anymore, nor would anyone that saw it call it that. There's a point where the cup becomes something else. The question might be, where did it go? There was a cup, there was a cup, there was a cup. There's not a cup. Did something fly away? Was there some ghost that departed? The fact is, there wasn't a cup there to begin with in any real sense. It was just a projection of our mind. The concept changes. And what that shows you is it was a concept to begin with. Anything that we encounter in our day-to-day life is like that, whether it's self or other, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, any object is like that. It lacks a self nature. We live in a mental realm thinking that it's somehow substantial when it's not. It appears to be, but it isn't. There's no there. I wouldn't say there's nothing, because that would be nihilistic to say there's just nothing. There's no proof that there's nothing, any more than there's proof that there's something. All we know by this thought experiment is that we're mentally projecting a self-nature onto objects. It's merely our mind being projected onto we don't know what. So the illusion that makes us suffer is we project our thinking, our conceptual mind onto things that are unknowable, and we think, oh, I know what that is. And we live in the concept. And it limits us. It's like an empty cup that we worship. There's nothing there. It seems meaningless until we realize the purpose of it, which is to love. When I'm with a friend having a drink, the props are necessary because we're embodied and we're having an embodied experience. We have some coffee maybe, so there's a cup, there's coffee. You know, the coffee cup's a vessel. I'm a vessel in that sense, as a person listening. And there's a way to embody our essence that transmits what I would call faith. It's not a belief, it's not an object. It's our conscious contact with our essence. And it's formless. And it's sharing reality, basically, on that fundamental level that feels so warm and supportive. I use the word essence because it's convenient, and it points towards something that's unnameable. And it is the very substance of all form. It's like the way the ocean appears as waves, and it's just water. The substance of all the waves is water. In a similar way, the substance of all form is consciousness. You can't have waves without the ocean, but you can have an ocean without waves. So who we are is like that. Forms appear like phantoms. There's no there. That's what the Buddhists mean by saying that they're empty. They have a relative meaning or a relative purpose, but in themselves are insubstantial in some concrete way. Like there's a self in there somewhere that if we just cut it into enough pieces and got down to the very bottom of it all, there would be something there. The something that's there is not a thing. It's not an object. It is our very awareness. I like to look at it as the things of the world are relative in nature because they're what we use to relate to each other. The self that we worry about, the me object, is like the cup. It's insubstantial. who we are is that which is substantial. It's just formless. So we confuse the thing that has form, the concept, with the substance, which is formless. Another Buddhist saying, very famous one, is form is emptiness, emptiness is form. We just get them confused. Franklin Merrell-Wolff had a formulation of it, which was substantiality is inversely proportional to ponderability. If you can ponder something, like a cup, like an object, the more you can hold it within consciousness as an object, the less substantial it is. And the more it dissolves into that formlessness as we meditate or pray or do inquiry, it, in a sense, opens up into infinity, and we realize that is the substance. That's who we are. We're infinite. We're eternal already. It's the best news you could possibly receive. It's just, you have to hear it and be struck by it. There's a spark or a glimpse, and you realize, yeah, there's something to this, that there is something meaningless about the world, but it's not nihilistic, because we realize that we can see through it to a greater reality, and the things that have no substance of themselves can be used. Each one is a chalice, and we could pour wine into it, we could pour poison into it. I don't recommend that. I mean, think of this sacred opportunity we have to share, to love, to risk this vessel instead of cherishing it. Of course, it makes sense to take care of yourself and stay alive. It's an instrumental desire at best. In other words, if I'm going to be healthy and take care of myself, it's not because that self is special or is substantial. It's because it can be used as a chalice to share with someone. A chalice is important really because of what you can put in it and what you can do with it. It's our conscious connection with the divinity of the other. That's really what matters. It's our essence relating to the essence of another. It's as if we're saying, I see you, I honor you. Objects we use are not the point. They're being used. They're a vessel. And in a similar way, this body-mind is a vessel. And it is just as insubstantial as the cup that I mentioned. It allows us to love, to encounter another person in a way that honors their essence. We can offer that chalice to a friend, to a stranger, to a loved one, and it makes us happy. We're better at it when we're less caught up in our thinking. Love is the reason we're here. And through meditation, prayer, inquiry, practices like that we've talked about, we become aware of thinking. We notice thoughts without judgment. The more transparent the thoughts become, it's like they start to let go of us and dissolve a bit. And this formlessness becomes apparent. This sacred consciousness that when we don't judge, we love what is. And what is not the form, it's the essence. So if I encounter someone, I can just love them. It doesn't matter what they look like. Some people will let you do it, some won't. Some people are more open. And then there's that sense of, we pour wine into each other's cups. And there's a moment of communion, of seeing and being seen, maybe understanding. And we feel a little bit better, a little bit happier. I think, I can get through this. It's really important. The fundamental error, though, is in thinking that thoughts are things, or that any objects are by themselves substantial. It's a materialist error to think that. It's really understandable. It's like you're dreaming and you think the things in the dream are real and they're really just a projection of your mind. It's like that. Whether we've met physically or not, that essence knows itself, not as a concept. It is itself. We need that to notice that dimension that I would call beingness, or reality, or truth itself. To share it, it could be a look. Like a store clerk that looks tired during the holidays. They're just working hard, they're not getting paid much maybe. It's as if you say, it's okay, like it really is okay, but you don't have to say anything. It's even better if you don't sometimes, especially if it's someone that you've never met. Your presence will transmit that. The first step of that is to entertain the possibility that the world as it's presented to us conventionally is a lie. If there's anyone lying to us that we need to get upset about, it's us. If I'm lying to myself, it's causing my own suffering. It's no one else's fault. This is the work that I have to do. No one's going to do it for me. The beauty of seeing this manifests in so many ways. We worry less. We're happy more. We can live what appears to be a dualistic or material life without any apparent meaning, like the myth of Sisyphus rolling the boulder up and down the hill. It seems meaningless until we realize the purpose of it, which is to love. We surrender to a greater reality, and it's blissful even. I hesitate to use that word because it sounds like a hit of some kind of drug. It really isn't like that. It's just awareness of your true nature. So you can't get it because you already have it. You already are it. I don't want to be sitting here. I am sitting here. The realization that I'm sitting here is I don't have to do anything. I already am. It already is. So it may occur to you that this example of a cup, deforming the cup and realizing it's not a cup, that there's no thing there, may seem trivial, unimportant. It's not, because it applies to all objects, in particular the self. That's the one that we need to look at. But what we can do is practice. So before we run into, say, a difficult interpersonal situation where maybe we get upset about something because it's always some belief that we have, we're clinging to one of these thoughts as if it were true, as if it were real. You practice relaxing those attachments. When your practice is good and you do it over a period of time, eventually that relaxes and softens, and then it becomes easier to do it when you're out in the world relating to other people. Like if someone says to me, you're a jerk. Well, first of all, I know that who I am is formless, and so that doesn't really apply. But it could be seen as a cop-out, because maybe I am being a jerk. So all that matters then is it true or not? Maybe I'm in a bad mood and I said something to bother someone. Well, I can apologize. Oh, sorry about that. I'll try to do better next time. It relaxes. When I say it, I mean the self-contraction. As long as we're embodied, we have this apparent self and psychology, personality, we have things to do. It's kind of like a drama that we might be watching, except we're in it. And that's really okay too, because it's not the ultimate truth. When we wake up, we realize that's completely false. Just like a dream is seen as being insubstantial when we wake up from it. We can raise that chalice and offer it to someone. And that's what this is for. That's love. It's compassion. It makes life worth living. It makes us happy. It's like we're proving it. And it can be challenging. Pain hurts. The first noble truth of Buddhism is that life is suffering. And it doesn't say only on Tuesdays. That's how it is. Sickness, aging, death. That is something we all have to deal with. Aches and pains. Let your meditation show you the emptiness of these things.